The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100 are absolutely dominating. We saw the Dow hit all-time highs today with one of its strongest closes ever. We saw the Nasdaq break into all-time highs as well. And now ES is knocking on the door. Now, the main question is, what do you need to be buying and what should you be looking at? Because we have very big opportunities in plays right in front of us if you just pay attention. What I will say before we go into anything else is you want to long the strong names and short the weak ones. Meaning, I'm not interested in mid caps. I'm not interested in penny stocks or cheap names right now. I want to go long on the names that have been carrying the market. We don't want to stray away from what's already works. Like your mom told you when you were little, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's get to work. So again, we look quickly at the Nasdaq, the ascending triangle. You're breaking out. It's clear as day. Very, very strong. Number one. You go into ES, we look what's happening here. Again, to give you a visual, you're just right at highs. Basically, highs are right here, 50, 30. That's where you're looking to go to. We broke back above 5,000 with vengeance this morning. It was beautiful. Right, you can see just gapped and just pushed right through it. Exactly what you wanted to see. I would be on the lookout for a retest of 5,000 and maybe overnight session. Anything like that to see the reaction that we get. You also now have, again, because you consolidated here like we talked about, now you consolidate at this level, you go to something like the daily chart, and now you have a massive demand here, massive support that is going to be established. And this is where things, in my opinion, get really interesting. Because if you come back down to 49.72, 49.50, you're expecting buyers to step in aggressively. So the best case scenario actually is that we get a pushback into this level and then we bounce out of that. That would be the best entry opportunity, cost effective, make you the most money in the long term. So that's what I'm looking at right now, but I'm looking at it trending at highs. And when we look at equities, you're gonna be like, yeah, it's pretty likely we continue this run to the upside. Now, again, we look at something like, what SPY is doing, what's happening there. And again, SPY breaking, holding. Like I said yesterday, what do you want to see? A break and mount of our highs right there. Well, we pushed, we gapped, we got above, you mounted, and the rest was history. You rode the 9 EMA, you rode the VWAP, everything in between, nothing but strength for the remainder of the day. You go into Qs, the same level we talked about back here, 428. You got above that level with ease and then mounted highs as well. Again, very similar to the SPY chart, trending below, flag, ride the 90 EMA, the rest is history. Okay, so again, very strong overall structure in the broad market. And as you dive a little bit deeper, again, you're going to see all the signs that are kind of screaming, this probably isn't done just yet. Now, what I will say as well, when we go into the dollar and we go into bonds, you're seeing those slow down as well. We also saw more Fed members push out the narrative, right? We saw a very clear narrative. We have enough data for 3 months. We have enough data for 6 months. Now we're waiting for the 12-month data. And then we'll have enough evidence to cut rates, right? And this is just fueling and stacking and building momentum and more and more. So when we look at what's happening, that comes back down to May or June. I actually kind of am pushing up my cut day to like May, give or take. May, June is when I think we're going to get the cut for sure on the market. And I think you're going to see a rally, in my opinion, when that happens. Now, on top of that as well, IWM. That's going to be one of the main things I'll be watching is IWM breaking back above 200. I think IWM and real estate will take off once that first rate cut takes effect. Personally, then on top of that, you're going to be watching yields for a break below 4% for continuation on the broad market. Those are going to be big things over the next few months. But I know a lot of you are day traders. You're interested in what's happening tomorrow and maybe even Friday. That's your idea of long term. So let's not waste more time. Let's get right down to those. Okay, so we go into something like DXY and we look. DXY has been on the decline since essentially Tuesday. Pre-market, right? 2 a.m. double top, pushing back down. You want to get back below the 200 SMA just to get, back in the realm of, control to the downside. The 30-year yield as well, operating in this range that we talked about. I want to see us back below 4.2%. Now, again, I don't think we're even going to break below 4% until we get the rate cut. I'm just losing optimism, but we're still just trading in this clear-cut range, okay, at the 200 SMA. DXY definitely had more momentum and more continuation, but as of right now, we're just sitting here kind of, playing ping pong back and forth. Nothing crazy, but yeah, that's the action that we have right now on the US30 and what's happening there. Oil is getting a little bit of a bounce, but nothing crazy. Rejected again off the 200 SMA. Again, we like oil going down because it's good for inflation and everything that's taking place there. You want to see continued good inflation over the next 2-3 months because, again, this will be the leading factor into those rate cuts over the next, season coming into summer. So again, things we have to be looking at. But now we need to get into stocks. We need to get into equities, because I believe equities point us in a very large direction. When you look at equities, there's a few things you have to acknowledge, and something that I said in the beginning of the video: long the strong names, short the weak names. NVDA, Microsoft, a handful of these names are continuing, and they're pretty easy money. I give you the levels that I'm watching every single day to break above to get that continuation. Now, I can't give you this is what's going to happen guaranteed tomorrow, but I can tell you how you react if you break X level or if you break Y level. I can tell you more than likely what's going to happen from that reaction. And that's what we do primarily. So again, if you have questions, comment down below if you don't really fully understand something, but let's jump into that as well. Now, before we go into that too, we've gone over the data as well. Tuesday and Wednesdays are typically our worst performing days on the week. So it wasn't surprising when we didn't get the crazy continuation on ES to, push all-time highs today. Okay, so that wasn't. And it was also worth mentioning with yesterday, when yesterday kind of was back and forth as well. Tuesdays and Wednesdays tend to be our chop days and lack overall direction or continuation. Thursdays, Fridays have been our peak days when we get the best action and we find our highs on the week. And, almost 60% of Thursdays have ended green here on the year. So that's all things to take into account. The fact that SPY is pushing all-time highs here in the after hours, we're holding up very well. I'm still very, very, very bullish. Personal opinion. Take it for what it is. That's how I'm viewing this. Again, if you have any more further questions on that, I would love to answer them. But again, I can only say so many times. Tyler is bullish. He is bullish. He's bullish. Yes, you guessed it again. I'm still bullish. Okay, so when we go over some of these names, let's start. Number one, we'll go over the favorite, NVIDIA. All we were looking for yesterday was, can you remount that level? Now, one thing to mention is we talked about 677. Jordan called this out previously as well. You broke above this yesterday. You filled the gap. You came back above it. Well, today you open up, you instantly test, and then you bounce. So you had a great entry opportunity off that key level. Go watch the video if you missed out on that. And now you get the continuation and the push to the upside. Something worth mentioning. So I do want to say that. Now, going past this, you came into 694, which was the all-time high, basically, right? And you ended up breaking, you push into 701. In the after hours, you're sitting at around 706. NVIDIA doing its thing. As long as you mount highs, you're looking for that said continuation. Okay, going into something, and again, there's nothing else I can do on NVIDIA. You're just at highs and you're breaking and you're continuing. It's really that simple. Apple, again, you got the push today, 190, 189.9. You couldn't necessarily hold, and you kind of broke back down. But one thing we continue to talk about is what's happening here. Look at the higher lows. They keep, again, what's the definition of a bullish trend? Well, I'll tell you right now, making higher highs and higher lows over and over and over and over. I can only say that so many times, and that is exactly what you're doing right now. So you're making that trend, you're breaking up. I still extremely bullish on Apple. I believe it's going to be running towards 200 by end of the month, maybe even next month. But that's how I view this right now. Apple, my favorite name, been buying on almost every single dip. Big fan of what they're doing there. Netflix, you got back above 562. You had some good news about them partnering with MLB. You shot up, you rejected, came back down. Again, it's just not respecting our levels anymore. Not a fan. I'm steering clear. I'm not trying to increase my risk by playing a sketchy name. Okay, got to say that more as many times as possible. Meta. Now, Meta was very interesting. What you were looking at here. In this range, I wasn't a huge fan, but now you're pushing back to the top of the range. Everyone was saying, go short, hammer shorts, go short, go short. Well, now you're breaking back up. Spoiler alert. So when we look at what's happening here, back above 469. Above 469, you're pushing back into all-time highs. That's my target. Short-term target, 473. But I do think you're going to want to push into all-time highs. Personally, would definitely be watching that one. Microsoft, we said yesterday, you break back above 407 and you're bullish. You had 1, 2, 3 rejections. Today you opened up above and the rest was history. You remounted 408.5, a key level mentioned yesterday as well, and then you ran all the way back into 414. I mentioned this on Twitter with any love from Nasdaq that you're going to get an all-time high push on Microsoft. So again, make sure you're following on Twitter. All the data is there. Again, I post charts. I'll have more charts, some days less, some days more, but it is what it is so everyone can see. Again, past few days, I was telling everyone the ascending triangle on Nasdaq, There was no reason to be going short. People said, this is bearish. We're not going to break. We're going to get this and that. And guess what happened? We went up. So surprise, surprise. Amazon coming back into 171, the resistance. You can't mount it just yet. If you get a break and mount, I'm looking to go long on Amazon, but in this range, it's a no trade for me. AVGO, we talked about this as well. AVGO is carrying a lot of momentum. Probably one of the better semiconductors on the day, up $34, $6 in the after hours, showing all signs of continuation. Now, these are things that I do like, and I think you have signs of continuation that you want to keep running, at least on Meta or on AVGO and semiconductors as a whole. AMD is definitely lagging, but AVGO still looks very good. AMD, you want to get a mount back above 174.6. Below that, I don't want to trade it, have no desire. Boeing, you're going to get bounced back up, back into the 200 SMA. Surprise, surprise. You need to get above that to be bullish once again, but that's where we're at right now. That's what I'm viewing. That's what I'm trading. Again, the last things on the list will be cloud. We look at cloud, and again, you're just consolidating right below your 200 SMA right now. Or no, is that your 200 SMA? Yeah, 200 SMA on, no, not right. Whoops, my bad. All-time high. I knew that was wrong. You broke out of your ascending triangle that we mentioned here on CrowdStrike. Boom, you broke. You're pushing 320. Now you're just trending at highs. Again, very, very strong. What I'd be watching. Next up is CRM. You're breaking out of your ascending triangle here. You're mounting that level. You're looking for a 299 push there as well. If you have questions, comment down below. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, traders.